Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Viserai deck that I've been cooking up with the new Rosetta cards. So let's just get right into it. Alright, so we've got a pretty standard equipment suite. We've got Crown of Providence as the main board. We do have the new Face Purgatory in the sideboard though, but just mainlining, we're going to Crown of Providence here. Fiendal Spring Tunic, Grasp of the Arknight, and yes, this is a Reaping Blade build. So we're going to take a look at what the tried and true staples of a Reaping Blade deck looks like, and then of course we have Spellbound Creepers because we like to manipulate action points and do Rune Blade shenanigans. So starting off here, we've got the newest card in the deck is going to be Arcanic Spike. This is a 2-cost, hits for 5 at base, but if you've dealt arcane damage this turn, it does get the +2 buff. As is in Flesh and Blood, when rune chants are on the stack, they have to be resolved and dealt with first before the physical attack can be addressed. And so this is going to ask your opponent, hey, do you want to allow this to get that 2+ buff? Because if you do, then my Mauve Skies trigger is going to be a little bit harder for you to work around. Typically, that's the goal, right? We're going to Mauve Skies into something like Arcanic Spike, and that's either going to be a 5 attack or a 7 attack, depending on what our opponent chooses to do. Now, if you don't have a rune chant to threaten them to get this buff, it's a 2 for 5, and I know on the surface that's not exactly super above rate, but the conditions of us having rune chants on the stack when we swing with this are more than likely. Like, we're going to be asking our opponent to deal with the arcane damage first, and that puts our opponent in a predicament. Do you want to give us a card to pitch away into Arcane Barrier to then have to deal with the 5 or 7 attack here? So we're leaving that agency up to our opponent, getting them into the think tank and away from their comfort zone, which is not something that Viserai was able to do a lot of in the past. So I think that Arcanic Spike is something to keep an eye out for, especially in these like more aggro, a little bit of the taller side of things, and especially in this kind of a build anyway. So the next card is Deathly Duet, kind of an older card, but a really good flex card, because it does have the when it attacks, if an attack action card was pitched, it gets +2. If a non-attack action card was pitched, you get 2 rune chants. So on a Mordred Tide turn, that can be really nice, pitching away a non-attack action. At the moment, this card feels fine in the list, but if I were to make any cuts, this would be the first one to go. It's really good, but you know, a 2-cost 6 isn't the best when we have 2-cost 7s in the list. And admittedly, I am not running Revel in Runeblood, which is a little crazy considering how like much of a staple that card has become in Viserai. I just wanted to try something different with like some of the newer non-attacks, and honestly, I haven't really been able to tell that much. It's not that much of a detriment without that card in the list. Yes, it's a 0 for bajillion rune chants, but at the same time, I'm trying different things, trying to see what Viserai is capable of without those crutch cards like Sonata Arcanics, like the Revel in Runebloods. And right now, the list operates just fine. All that to say, if I were to cut anything and put Revel in Runeblood back in the list, which is like 98% chance likelihood, it's going to be replacing Deathly Duet. But like I said, as it stands, the list is amazing right now. I'm having really good results with it, and it's very consistent, I can say that. Hit the High Notes is the cost curve replacement for the times where you'd probably be swinging that one resource on the Reaping Blade. So let's say we have the Mauve Skies, we're coming in, we pitched a blue, and we're swinging with Arcanic Spike or Shrill of the Skullform. We've got one resource floating, and our opponent just, obviously they know we're going to be swinging Reaping Blade, right? No. We have really fun new tools like Hit the High Notes, which is going to be coming in for +2, because typically at the end of the chain, we've definitely made a rune chant. So this would be coming in for 1 for 6, and there's going to be a rune chant on the back end typically. So this is actually a 1 for 7, which last time I checked is a lot better than a 1 for 4 with Reaping Blade and the rune chant there. So just really good utility, good flexibility with that last little resource. Worst case scenario, you keep a blue, pitch it off into Grasp, swing in with this, and you're coming in with that same 3-cost 7 which is still pretty on rate. So Hit the High Note is a really, really good flexible card for the list. All that to say, it's making the cut one way or the other. Next up is Malefic Incantation, which at the moment is replacing Runeblood Incantation. I just really enjoy the fact that I have the agency of when I'm making those rune chants, and especially in Viserai, right? Because typically we're going to be creating a Viserai triggered rune chant when we play out our attack action because we've met the conditions and so on and so forth. So we're going to make one from Viserai's trigger. We're going to make one from Malefic Incantation. We're going to have two on the back end, which can help fuel our future turns or carry out into that same turn with a little bit more damage via rune chance. So I really, really, really like Malefic Incantation. Nothing wrong with Runeblood Incantation. Just at the moment, like I said, I'm just trying new things, putting out the new toys and taking them for a spin. And right now, without reduced Runeblood Incantation, I actually am living scot-free. Feels just fine with having only the Malefic Incantation. There's probably an argument to have both, but again, at the moment, this deck feels really, really consistent in the handful of games that I've played. We're running the Rainbow Suite of Mauve Skies because this is an aggro deck. We want to keep going. We want as much go again in the list as humanly possible. So Mauve Skies, I mean, there's a reason why it's become a staple in most Runeblade decks. So next up we have Mordred Tide, basically a Viserai specialization at this point. We can do things like Mordred Tide, Mauve Skies, Arcanic Spike, and do all the things, finish it off with the Hit the High Notes or the Reaping Blade. All the things that help us make rune chants are going to double because of the Mordred Tide. Well, not double, but they're going to make one additional. So you could Mordred Tide into Malefic Incantation, which is going to make you 2 rune chants on the back end. And then as soon as you play out your first attack action, you're going to make 2 from Viserai's trigger and 2 from Malefic Incantation. So there's 4 more on the back end. It's just like it. I'm telling you, in the games that I've played with this list, you're playing the game like you normally and you're accustomed to with the shrill play, and all of a sudden you're looking down and you have like 8 million rune chants on the back end. It's pretty insane. Rune Flash is again piggybacking on that statement of we want all the rune chant or all the go again cards that we can get a hold of, and Rune Flash, with all the rune chants we're making, the cost reduction is pretty much guaranteed. So it's just a solid 0 for 4 typically, 99% of the time. Speaking of go again, we've got Rune Rager Swarm, which is a newer card here coming out in Rosetta. And if you've played or created an aura this turn, this gets go again. So it's really low to the ground, not very threatening. Typically not something you want to shove right after a Mauve Skies, but you got to do what you got to do if that's what you feel like you got to do. But typically this is just a good way to either continue the chain going or a good chain starter, especially on the back of a Malefic Incantation that's going to generate that rune chant to give this go again. It's just a really, really solid way to keep pushing damage. And at 3, our opponents are typically going to disrespect this and just disregard this. So for that reason, we like free damage. Thus, Rune Rager Swarm, aka Rune Jab, is making the cut. We are running the full Rainbow Suite of Shrill of the Skullform because even on the blues, it's a 2-cost 5. We're going to get that aura created and it's going to get the buff. So Mauve Skies come in with this for 5. Even at the blue, it's still just so good. Tried and tested. Shrill of the Skullform just does good things for our game plan, and it's going to leave that one resource floating, and with that one resource floating we can do things like Snuff Out. So Snuff Out is just like everything that we've ever needed all in one package. Really low cost, hits for 5, which is so much better than a 1 for 4, which is typically what I would suspect for anything this powerful. But a 1 for 5 is so good. It says when this hits a hero, you may destroy an aura you control. If you do, they discard a card. So they get to choose the card they discard, but that's all contingent on whether or not we destroy the aura. We don't have to do that. I'm pretty sure you want to do that, but you don't have to do that. But yeah, so as Viserai, whenever we play out our attack actions, we're typically triggering Viserai's hero ability, generating one on the back end. So we have that rune chant at our disposal to ensure that we have something to destroy, forcing our opponent to respect this card. So Mavrian Skies, 2 cost 7. With Go Again, they're typically going to think, all right, cool, they've got a Reaping Blade after this. Let me throw 2 cards, maybe a piece of equipment in front of the Shrill so they don't get any more rune chance off the Mav trigger, and then let's just eat the damage off the Reaping Blade. No longer can they just have those casual, leisurely thoughts, because we might just have a Snuff Out, which is going to require another 2 cards, maybe some more equipment, whatever have you. But yeah, Snuff Out is just a card that we needed because we needed to demand respect on our cards. So look at that. Look at it go. Beautiful. 1 cost 5. Spellblade Assault is just a solid 2 for 6 if you look at it, because we're going to make 2 rune chance on the back end. Maybe it's a 2 for 7 on a Viserai trigger. So you're going to make 2 rune chance off of this, 1 rune chant off of Viserai's ability. A 4 is a nice breakpoint, so you don't feel bad shoving this in after a Mavrian Skies. So just a classic card. We love to see rune chant, create rune chant tokens just plainly bold printed on a card. Swarming Gloomveil, if you're playing mid-range aggro Viserai, you're going to play Swarming Gloomveil. Not much to say about it. Again, it's kind of the same theory of more Go Again, please. So we need it in the list. All right, so this next one is Succumb to Temptation. And my friends, this is a assassin card that has the Rune Blade text on it. If we don't say anything about it, they won't fix it. So just keep it on the DL. This is for us and us alone. This says if you've dealt arcane damage this turn, you may play this as though it were an instant. That is insane, because how many times, if you've been playing Viserai, has your opponent just eaten 1 rune chant, 3 rune chants, 6 rune chants? So you're going to be able to play this as an instant. And this says the next time a Rune Blade attack action card you control hits a hero, look at their hand, choose a card, and discard it. Ooh, my God. So yeah, I mean, this is pure disruption that we desperately needed, and something that you definitely want to try to flash in the reaction step. This does have Go Again, so you, in theory, could play it out at the start of your turn and just lay your cards on the table and say, hey, look, this is what's about to happen to you. Deal with it. But this is a sneaky card. We want to be able to trick our opponent into thinking all is well, all is safe. Just kidding. Let me see your hand. Get rid of this. Not typically something you want to do on a Mauve play. So you might, because they're going to block out the Mauve, right? So you might want to do a Mauve attack, and then on your next attack, they're going to be like, damn it, I already overblocked on the Mauve. Whatever, dude. I'll take the 4 or 5 damage here. Ah, perfect. Thank you for doing that, because now you have to discard a card. Thank you to Succumb to Temptation. It's an amazing card. It blocks for 3. It does all the things. We are all better players because of Succumb to Temptation. Become the Arcanite. Yeah. Next, it is Machinations of Dominion. Again, another brand new non-attack action. This time a blue pitch that blocks for 3. The next Rune Blade attack action card you play this turn gets Overpower, and it gains if you've played or created an aura this turn, this gets Go Again. So this is our 10th, 11th, and 12th Mavrian Skies, essentially, with a cheeky little Overpower on top of it. So not an on-hit with rune chance, but really good late game, because those Shrills coming in for 7, you can definitely do this into a Mauve Skies and then a Shrill, and then you're guaranteeing, essentially, not guaranteed, asterisks guaranteeing that the Mauve Skies is going to hit because of that Overpower, and it's going to just have a little extra Go Again for funsies. An incredibly powerful card that we desperately needed, and again, like I said, blue pitch, 3 block. You'll love to see it. Last but certainly not least is Vexing Malice. This just wins the game. That's all there is to say about it. If you've ever played Viserai and you've drawn into that Vexing Malice when your opponent's at 1, it's like you hear the heavens singing and shining down on you, because your opponent only has Arcane Barrier 1. They disrespect us. They only bring AB1. But they should know that if they drop to 1 life, all we're doing is waiting for our Vexing Malice to just close the game out. So that is why Vexing Malice never, ever will leave any of my Viserai decks. So that is the list right there. Maybe I'm crazy. There's no Revel and Runebloods. There's no Sonata Arcanics. Some of the staples are just completely void from the list. And if I'm crazy, let me know down in the comment section. Also, if you want to take this deck for a spin before you haze me too hard on it, the link is in the description. If you want to see a gameplay video of this, just let me know down in the comment section. I'd love to put one together, but only if you want to see it, of course. But yeah, let me know down in the comment section what you think. If you enjoyed the video, leave it a like and hit the subscribe button so we can continue to grow this Viserai community. And until next time, we'll see you later.